Alright guys, this is going to be my quick tutorial on how to use Fusion 360 to draw up your DXF files to send to me to have blades cut. I apologize for the microphone. We had some problems with my good one and we're using this one. So first up, when you open up Fusion 360, it's going to open up just like this. If you notice up here it says for personal non-commercial use. On yours it'll say that as well if you're just doing it for a hobby. The reason why mine says that is because they couldn't for some reason activate my small business version and told me just to switch over to personal to get it to work. So that's why I'm running that. So first up, this is your blank screen. Your friend is going to be this insert button right here. So if you don't have an untitled up here, you can hit new over here on file, new design, but it should start with a blank page. So first up, the easiest way to draw knives in this is to first sketch it on a piece of paper and either take a picture of it or scan it and then import it into here. It makes things a lot easier to kind of lay things out. So first, click insert. You're going to come down here, insert from computer, and then you're going to find wherever you saved your scanned picture or camera picture. Let's pick one of these that I know. Let's see here, 280, 282, no, 287, where is it? Where's the one I was going to draw it? That one. So you click that and it comes up with this box right here. These are just your different planes. So front, and then that would be left over here, and this would be bottom. So you can either click one of those or you can click, that's top. So then I guess that would be top. Click that. Your mouse wheel zooms you in and out. And now you have control over, you can rotate things. If you grab this and move it back and forth left or right, you'll rotate the image left or right. You can grab this and it's a free drag and it will move. You can drag this anywhere you want. This is an X distance and a Y distance. If you look over here on this side, you will see scale, X distance, Y distance, canvas. You can rotate, so if it's flipped around and backwards so your dimensions don't come out, well, I'll just show you. So if you import it and it looks like that, you can click this button right there and it will flip you back around. This does top and bottom. So generally I rotate things a little bit so that the spine of the knife is parallel to the top of the screen. So you can kind of zoom out with your mouse wheel, and wherever you put your cursor when you zoom in, it'll create that as the focal point. So you can look up here, we're off just a tiny bit, so you can grab this wheel, drag this. What was it trying to do? It's trying to bump me in 5 degrees. Alright, so come over here then, Z angle right here, make this say 1 degree, say 0.9 degrees. Maybe I'll only do 0.1. Alright, well, we'll call that good anyways. Alright, so now your biggest friend in drawing is going to be over here. You're going to go create sketch. And now you're going to want to click this plane, this little box. This is the plane that you put this image on. This image is just a background image. So you're going to draw over this. So you click that, and now you are sketching on the same plane as the knife. You're not drawing on this picture, but you are drawing that's on that same surface, virtual surface, so to speak. So now what we want to do is, the computer doesn't really know what scale this is. So generally what I will do first is I will click this line tool over here, zoom in with your mouse wheel. Click right there on the point. Zoom back out and drag this thing straight down. Then it will lock at 90 degrees. You can see how it snaps. So take it down about there. Then push escape to get rid of that line. Come back and select your line tool again. Zoom over here. Find the furthest point that's to the right. Click it right there. Zoom back out. And then you're going to want to set this at the same. So click, you don't click right here, but if you put your mouse right there and then drag back over, you can see how it now wants to snap to both positions. If you click right there, now these 2 points right here are the same in your y-axis, so to speak. Hit escape. So now what you want to do, come up here. This is your sketch dimension, so click that, and you're going to want to sketch measure from this point to this point. And you can see the computer thinks that this is 0.523, so it thinks that this whole knife is only ½ inch long. So escape back out. Now this is the tricky bit. Well, it's not really tricky, but it's the clever bit, I should say. Come up here where it says canvas, hit this little drop down right here, and you see this. This is your picture that you uploaded. Right click on it with your mouse button and you can see calibrate. Click that. Now you have a choice of clicking 2 points, and then you're going to tell it what the dimension of this picture is between there. And we can see that we are 8.5, 8 and, let's see here, we've got for height 1.5 inches. So we're 9.25 inches from this point right there to this point right here. So we're 9.25 inches. So now what we do is we zoom in. Now this doesn't snap to these points, but if you zoom in all the way and then just kind of center it, you're going to be within a thou or so. So click right there. Now zoom back out. Come over to this point. Zoom in on this one. Put your thing over that. Click that. Zoom back out. And now you can see right over here, this says 0.523, which we know because we measured it. Now what we want to type in there is 9.25 inches, so 9.25. Hit enter, and now it has just scaled the image, so now this drawing is perfect to scale to what it should be cut at. Come back into sketch, come over here, click this little drop down, right click on this. Actually no, I think we're already in the sketch. Never mind, forget that. We never closed the sketch, so we're still in it. You can drag it, just click up here and drag to the right, and it will select all those, hit delete, and now we're good. Now we're ready to draw. So we can move this out of the way. We don't need this right here, so close it with that. Now come over here to the left, your line tool, do all your straight sections first. Come out here about where you estimate. Pencil doesn't end it right away, so you're going to have to guess where the end is. So stick it right there, zoom back out, zoom in over here where it finishes, and set your line. Now, it will keep continuing to place lines until you hit escape. Come over here to where you think it's, where the line is going to end. Now it will snap to 90 degrees, so you have to kind of, if the line isn't exactly 90 degrees, you're going to have to zoom in more so you don't snap into 90 degrees from its orientation. So you can see if I snap at 90 degrees, it's not quite proper. You probably wouldn't notice it in the cut knife, but I always tend to err on the side of adding a little bit more material than making it too small. So we'll end it right here. and just click. Now, we don't want any more lines after that, so then we hit that little check mark, come over and hit line again. Oh, our line's already still selected, so we'll come over here. Click that, come down here. Now if your knife design doesn't have any straight lines on it, then you can basically ignore this section. And then come over to there. Hit the little check mark. So now we're good. So now we've got all the straight sections drawn out. Hit escape on your keyboard. Oh, yeah, there we go. Now, what we want to do is we want to draw this part. And this is the part that always throws people for a loop because it's a very fluid shape. And that's why I recommend drawing it on paper first, because it's going to be a lot easier to get the shape you want by hand than it will be to try to draw it on the computer, because you're going to run into limitations of this isn't a specific arc, it's a series of arcs that all blend together. So you come over here, fit point spline. This is probably the best tool. The only reason I use Fusion 360 is because out of all the other software I've used, their spline point tool is amazing. Right there. So click that. Now, click here. And now what you want to do is just kind of click along this profile. And what it will do is it will average everything out and it will flow just like you want it to. So here you can see where it kind of dips down. It's going to dip down, and if I start again from here, there might be a little crease there. You kind of want to go as far as you can go and still have the line follow the profile. So you're going to click it right here. You're going to hit this little check mark because you're done. Click this one again. The only disadvantage to this, I guess not really a disadvantage, but the only limitation is you can't really do a sharp transition. So like right in this area right here, you have to end it and start over. If you try to do this curve, it's going to try to blend this all as a curve all the way up through the spine, which we don't want. We want a nice transition right there. So we're going to click right here. We're going to click right there. And then we're going to click right there. And then hit the check mark. Zoom back out here. Right here, click right there, right there, and then they'll have a lot of times there'll be a little radius drawn in here. You add that after. Don't try to curve these into it because you're gonna create weirdness before and after. So I kind of, if that was a point, I try to guess where that would sit. And then do this part. The nice thing about this tool is it allows some really fluid shapes that you would be otherwise difficult to get if you're just drawing circles. And then click right there, and there you go. Now you'll notice these have little handles that stick out. So you can hit escape. You hit escape to unselect a tool, but these are still selected. Now you can click off, and if you click it again, these handles will show up. You can drag these points wherever you want to. So if it doesn't line up exactly where you want as you're going, don't worry about it. Just keep finishing your profile, and then you can go back around and move things. You know, if this wasn't right where you wanted it, you can move it over here, and everything flows. So since I like where that was, I'll hit Control Z to go back. So now you can see this is a little steep right here. So click this line, and now you have control over these handles. If you move it, it will control, I don't know exactly what the name of the word is for it, but you can kind of tweak things around and put them where you want them. Generally, this isn't really going to make much of a difference because you're never going to see that. All right, so that profile's done. Now, the trick that I will say, actually, let's fix this right here. This section needs to be, so this is the start point for that spline. Here's the end of the handle right here. We want this to be tangent to that, parallel to that. So let's grab that and sucker down. There we go. Hit escape. This one right here. Where's that point? This point right here. We can move this down a little bit if we want, just to get that. But like I said, you can see it in the screen, but you'll never see it on the cut. So now we want to find out our center point to this. Easiest way to do that is select your profile, double click anywhere along this line, and you've selected this whole profile. Then come up here to offset. Click that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to keep clicking this up, increasing the offset distance right here. I don't know why that thing doesn't respond very well. And then offset it down until these meet about right where you've got your first point. But you don't want to really disappear, because then that's going to give you a false reading. So a lot of times it's hard to, a lot of the designs I get, someone has just drawn some points, as pins and expecting me to center them, which I usually do. So if it's way off, if there's a reason, I'll ask. But if it's looks like they just weren't lined up, then I will just center them up. So you do that, hit OK. Now I grab the line tool again, come over here, right about where this dot's going to start, and come down and make a line. And then over here, you can see that this already follows about where this dot is away from this edge. So we know that this location is good. This one is unknown. We want all three pins to be evenly spaced from the sides and from each other. You don't want it really close or really far away. Because this is a curve, it's difficult to do it by eye. But the easy way is to now just come over here, grab your circle tool, right over here, and see if this thing will respond. There you go. Circle. Come over here. This is where it's drawn, but it really wants to be, if you slide this thing along here, it should give me a center point. No, it's not giving me a center point. So then come back to the line tool and go from this dot to this dot. There you go. So what we're going to do is now we're going to take another line and go from center point. We're going to come out at 90 degrees from that line we just drew, and attach it to that one. So now we have transferred and inferred the center point to this point. Sometimes there'll be a center point in this arc, but because this is a spline, it's not a, this arc doesn't have a center point, because it's, it doesn't have a center point off here. We have to tell it where the center of that arc is by just going from dot to dot and then extending that line out. So we can now delete this, take our circle, stick it right there, and we'll just put 0.125 in there. The nice thing about Fusion 360 is that it just assumes you're doing diameter. All the other programs, SolidWorks and AutoCAD and all those, they will give you radius. So you'll type in 125 and you'll have a 1/4 of an inch diameter circle. Grab your circle tool again, come to the center here, 0.125. So now we've got that. Now what we want to do is take our arc tool, come down over here to create, drop this, hit arc. You want a 3-point arc right here. Click that, click the center point of this one, and then scroll over here and click the center point of this one. Now you notice you actually have an arc. So now what we want to do is kind of eyeball this. Let's see here, what would be the best way to do this? well, before we do that, let's go back to the line tool, and we're just going to assume that they drew this center. So come up here and just draw a line through here. It doesn't have to be perfectly square, straight up and down. Try to keep it a little bit parallel. I guess that would be more perpendicular to that top offset curve. So now when we do our arc, come back over here, hit arc, 3-point arc, select the center, and then put your center right on the center of this line. Now we can see, we come back here and hit circle again, we can now see the center is actually right here. The center between the front pinhole and the rear pinhole. So we'll place our circle right there. We're a little off of perfect center, but if anything, it's better to be towards the spine than it is to be towards the edge side of the profile. So 0.125, throw that in there. That gives us a perfectly laid out pinholes. So now the inside profile, double click on it right there. If you double click on it, it selects the whole thing as a chain. Then hit the delete key, now it's gone. Select that arc, delete it, it's gone. Come over here, get rid of that line. Come over here, delete that line. And then come over here. Random lines in your drawing are a bad thing when it comes to giving them to me, because then when I throw them in the CAM software, it says that it's an open profile, and then I've got to go and hunt and search for lines. The other thing that's always bad to do is put two lines on top of each other, because the software will see two lines on top of each other and it will try to cut that twice. So there you go. This is your knife profile. And if you want to measure it just to make sure, you can come over here, select your measure tool, sketch dimension, select the front, come over here, select the back. Since we don't have a point that's right here, we're going to have to catch one, maybe just this butt end right here. And it says we're 9.246 total, and it was supposed to be 9.25, so we're within a couple thou. So now if you wanted to measure the very perfect end, come over here to create, come over here where it says point, and then select the furthest, which is probably going to be right around in here, and then just excuse me, place that point. Sketch dimension, select that, come over here, select that, 9.254. So there you go. You are perfectly scaled to your drawing, and now you can make changes if you want. If you wanted to smooth this out, or put another finger groove, or change the blade shape, or you wanted to go away from a straight edge, you want to go to to something a little bit more curved, you can go to your spline tool and you can just kind of click along and give you a more curved edge like such, and then make sure you would delete this and you would delete that. So now you've got more like a drop point style. So now if you wanted to, and if you don't like something you just did, hit Control Z and it will undo what you just did. So now the time the rubber meets the road is to save this as a DXF file. To do that, Fusion 360 is actually really handy, and one reason I kind of fell in love with them is being Fusion 360 is a by-month rental type thing. They're obsessed with saving everything into the cloud. My big problem with the cloud is there's no such thing as a cloud. It's just someone else's computer, and I would rather save stuff on my own computer. So come over here where it says sketch on the left hand side, right click on it, and there it is, save as DXF. Click that. You can title it whatever you want. I've already done a DXF for it, so I would just type in whatever I want. We'll type this in as test. And then this is 279, so we hit save. And we're saved. If we want to look at that file, let's go to, where is my SolidWorks? Actually, we can just open it up in this. Alright, so if you want to look at it again, come over here, hit New Design. So your other one's still here, but now it doesn't know about the other one. This is just a new thing. You can insert a DXF file here, same way. You can click that. There's a drop down as well. You can insert DXF. The cool thing about this is you can actually insert 2 DXF or 3 or 4 DXFs together. So you have 2 different knives, one with a nice handle that you like, and the other one with a nice blade, and you want to put them both together. You can insert 2 and kind of drag and drop and clip and cut and merge things together with this format. With this right here, you can insert 2 or 3 or however many different individual files you want and either compare them or such. Or you can come over here, hit File, hit Open. So these right here, these are samples, but if you came to something like this, these are knives, these are files that are actually saved on the cloud, so to speak. The problem is we live in an area where we don't have a lot of good internet. So that means that if the internet goes down, I don't have access to any of my files. So I always save everything on the computer. So you hit Open from Computer. Here's our test file. Click that. Hit Open. And there it is. You can hit Top, this view over here. Click that. It'll rotate it up and you can see it. Now, you can move things around if you hold down the middle mouse button, and it gets kind of wonky sometimes. So just hit Top. You can look at it. If you want to see what it looks like, extruded into the 3D view, you can click this surface, come over here where it says Extrude, click that, and you want to tell it how far. We're going to say we're going to make this out of 1/4 inch, so 0.25. Hit OK. And there you go. Now that's just a basic rundown. There's lots of ways you can assemble things. You can make scales and put it on there. You can put edge bevels, but for the most part, what this software is really good at is just making a DXF file really quickly to get it to me so I can cut it. Now I did forget to go through and show you if you wanted these rounded slightly. Generally, when I do the plasma cutter, I don't round these corners because the way the plasma cutter works is when it swings a corner, the trailing edge of the plasma cutter, the exit side of the plasma, is always trailing the top. So it's always in a slight curve out the bottom. So what happens is if it has to swing a radius real fast, it's going to be nice and sharp corner up top, and it's going to be rounded on the bottom because the exit point of the plasma cut is going to go the path of least resistance, or the, not the path of least resistance, closest path between point A and point B, straight line. So it's going to try to cut, it's going to try to jaywalk across this corner, and this bottom will be rounded and the top will be nice and sharp. So if it needs to be rounded already, after the fact, I will just draw it as a sharp corner, and it'll be a little rounded on the bottom, and then that can be cleaned up afterwards. You're going to have to grind the surfaces anyways. But I can show you, if you wanted a radius, the best way to draw that in. So we will just go back into here. Actually, we'll go over to our original file. So there's a handy tool for putting radiuses. It's right up here. Fillet. Click that. And say you wanted to put one right here. So click that, and this is the fillet radius. What size do you want? Well, say you wanted to have that a nice real big, 1/4 inch. So you hit enter, and there you go. It's a lot easier. It will blend everything and make everything tangent to each other. Trying to hit some tight radiuses with this spline tool doesn't work. So the other thing is, if you want to do this one, and this one all the same, you could click that and say we wanted to make it 0.03. Say we want 30 thou radius, just a tiny little radius there. So without hitting enter, you can now come over here and click this one, and then you can now come over here and click this one. And they've all got the same radius. And then just hit enter and you're done. So there you go. That easy. So I hope that helped. I'm probably going to do a better, more detailed videos in the future once I get my microphone situation figured out. It was rather frustrating today, so if you have any questions, let me know. But hopefully this will get you down the right path, because it makes my job a lot easier, and it makes your guys' drawings a lot nicer for you and for me when I can get them in a good laid out DXF format. Because then I'm not just guessing. You know, sometimes I'll get lines where, you know, there'll be a lot right in one area, and I don't know, did they want the outside line, did they want the inside line? You know, I'll see when people do skeletonized handles, it'll be drawn in here kind of funky, and I don't know if that's the exact shape they want, or they're just showing the area they want. Yeah. So actually, one last little tip: if you want to skeletonize something, you can use the same offset feature. Hit offset, click this thing, because this does seem to be a fairly popular thing with people. And the amount of offset that's over here is the amount, the thickness between here and here. So generally you don't want it too thin, because you'll get some warping in here when we do heat treating. And so say you want a 1/4 inch, so you go 0.25. So that gives you 0.25. Hit OK. And then generally I will grab the circle tool, come over here, and then I'll bring it up until it touches this. Because we centered these on this profile, we know that if we do a full circle, that it will line up. This one's a little over, but that's fine. Just drag it to the one where it touches. This one's over, but we're going to trim all this. And then this bottom one right here. Bring it to, say, right there. This will give you, you want some meat around your hole, because if we're going to have to make this hole bigger, 1/4 inch or so, this needs to be substantial, because this is taking a lot of the load, especially right up in this area. This is going to be the weakest point of your knife, is where this first pinhole is. So you want some beef in here. So now hit escape, come over to your trim tool, click trim. Every once in a while I have issues with this, but for the most part, let's see here, let's trim it. It's not actually touching. Alright, so we're going to do this a different way. We're going to delete these, because they actually need to intersect in order to trim it. So we're going to take a circle again, and we're just going to drag them just a tad bigger. There we go. Now the trim feature will work. Hit trim. Come over here, trim this, trim that. You just click on it and it'll show you the section. Now if you put your mouse over it and it shows this whole circle is purple, it'll remove the whole thing. So you want to make sure that you have overlapping lines, and if it doesn't work, you have to zoom in and see if they're not overlapping or touching. If they're touching, they'll work, but if they're overlapping, it's better. Trim that and trim that. Come over here, do the same thing. This and this, this and this, and then trim this and this and that. Alright, hit escape. Now you can delete the rest of this. Remember, double click selects the whole chain. Delete that. We also don't need this. Double click that, delete that. So now we're left with this. But these sharp edges are not good in a plasma. I mean, it'll cut them, but it's especially not good in a knife, because that's a stress riser. So come over here and use your fillet tool again. It's right up here. Click that. and then select one of your first points. Generally, I do my radius at probably about a 1/16 of an inch. The kerf on the plasma is usually around 70 thou. If you want to get in there and clean those up afterwards with a carbide bit, make sure that you select that radius as whatever size of carbide tool you're going to use. I use 1/4 inch carbide tools here, so that would be a 0.125. And so you would just select everything with the 0.125. And just collect all these sharp corners. You can see there's this little line right here. And that does go all the way through, because if we delete that, it's open. So hit Control Z, and we'll just trim that right there, like that. So there you go. Oh, we need to do that one too. 0.125. The easiest way to clean up the inside of these pockets after plasma cutting is I use a 1/4 inch carbide burr in a router, and the router is clamped to the bench, and I just run it around on the inside. It doesn't care, it'll eat anything. So now you can save your DXF file again. Come over here, hit File, Save as DXF. We're going to save it to the test. Hit Save. It already exists, but we know that, so we'll hit Yes to replace it. Come over here, let's close that. Let's close this file. Don't save it, and let's open it. You can hit this plus right over here, which is a new design. Or you could do it up through the file. And then let's just, I'll show you this way to insert a DXF. Insert DXF. Select one of these planes, doesn't really matter. My CAM software will always select the face as the top, so select that. Select your file, hit test. OK. And then hit OK. Now, upside down, right side up, doesn't really matter. I can flip it around. Select that surface. Just click it with your mouse button. Come over here, hit extrude. We're going to do a distance right over here of 0.25. Hit OK. And there you go. The biggest the biggest fault I see in a lot of the knives I cut when people skeletonize stuff is they make things really thin. And especially on the thin 15N20 we get some drawings where it's really thin in here, and I have to, use artistic licensing, so to speak, and move it in, because thin material is not going to take a lot to fail, and saving fractions of an ounce isn't really worth it if you have a blade snap off right in this area. So there you go. Just that easy. And then you just, when you make your order online, just select that DXF file and upload it. And I have all the dimensions. Everything is good. I don't have to have any questions answered. I just upload your file, nest it to however many you want, export, and cut. So I hope that helped. Sorry, I kind of went on a little tangent there at the end, but hopefully that'll get you going. If you have any other questions, like I said before, don't hesitate to send me a message. Thanks for watching.